All right, I think I am live on my YouTube channel, the Fits and Healthy Show. I am Dr. Lauren Fitzgerald, and I am holding a vial of semaglutide, or also pronounced semaglutide. I'm going to be pronouncing it semaglutide today, but either one works. Just know that this is the new, and I say air quote, new weight loss drug that a lot of people are talking about because there were a few celebrities that shared their little weight loss secret. And I want to share my thoughts as a functional medicine practitioner. So my name is Dr. Lauren Fitzgerald, also known as Dr. Fitz. I have another YouTube channel that's very well known for dance fitness, Club Fitz Fitness. But on here, I talk about all things health and fitness as pertaining to my medical degree, because I am an MD. I'm a former anesthesiologist. I now practice functional medicine, which is a more natural approach to helping heal the body. But because I am an MD, I have the ability to use prescription drugs with my patients that it is indicated. And so I want to do this quick video because I just saw a video by a well-respected guy that I follow. He has a very large social media following and a huge YouTube channel actually as well, where he talked about semaglutide, and weight loss from his perspective. And I completely agreed with pretty much everything he said. I just wanted to add to. So I will definitely link his video, which already has like a lot of 14,000 views already in their first 24 hours. It's a large YouTube channel, way larger than here. But I just want to add to it because I have a unique perspective. I have been in the health and fitness world since I was 16. I started teaching aerobics at a young, early age. An active lifestyle has always been part of who I am, but Western medicine failed me in my mid-30s, despite hardcore working out and what I thought was healthy exercise or healthy eating. I found myself becoming insulin resistant, even though that was not taught to us in traditional Western medical school. And so I found myself in my mid-30s gaining weight for no apparent reason. And that's when, instead of going to my primary care doctor, who would inevitably have just told me to eat less and exercise more, which fails 99.9% of people for long-term weight loss, I found a functional medicine doctor. And unfortunately, a lot of Western medicine people, whether they're MDs, DOs, nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, Western medicine in general, most when they hear the word functional medicine, they kind of roll their eyes and are like, ooh, that's woo-woo medicine or quack medicine, quackery, until Western medicine has failed them. And I will just tell you that our training is highly influenced by entities that have lots of money and really don't have any incentive to help a patient who's motivated to get off of pharmaceuticals and not have surgeries and procedures and be inundated into our healthcare system for a very long time. There's no motivation to teach young, bright minds that really do just want to help. And so here I am at 43 years old, and I practice functional medicine here at my place called Larimar Med in St. Charles, Illinois. And I just want to show how I use certain pharmaceuticals, including semaglutide, in my patient population. So first of all, I have this vial. So one of the things that I want to talk about is what this class of drugs is, who is it originally used for, who is it being used for now, and also how we can possibly use this as an adjuvant in functional medicine patients without the need to be on a pharmaceutical the rest of your life, right? So I use, instead of going to semaglutide, I'll use the example of Armour thyroid or NP thyroid. Those are two natural desiccated thyroid hormones that have to be called in by an MD or a DO and or a PA or nurse practitioner, anyone that is Western medicine that has a ability to prescribe medicine. That being said, I use natural desiccated thyroid in a lot of my patients, and there will be a handful of them that will always have to be on it forever because Western medicine failed them years ago in their diagnosis of their autoimmune disorder like Hashimoto's. That being said, It's the functional medicine approach, which means that it's not just looking for a pharmaceutical as the Band-Aid, but going to the root cause of what's going on and seeing how much of the root cause can be reversed. And you'll be amazed at how much of that root cause actually can be reversed when you have a patient that is motivated. But here's the thing, it is not one magic secret. It is all of the things that we do in functional medicine. What we do is we help our patients unlearn the unhealthy habits that got them sick, inflamed, chronically ill, chronically in pain, chronically depressed, chronically anxiety ridden, all of the things that are now normal nowadays. And we help unteach those and reteach new healthy habits that basically slowly over time reverse. And sometimes it's not so slowly. All right. Type 2 diabetes is one classic example, and that leads me to the talk about semaglutide, because in Western medicine, we are not taught that this disease process is reversible. We are taught that it's diagnosed when, you have a lab value that shows a certain number for prediabetes. And this is typically when the standard of care, which is definitely implemented by all of the big entities, which I won't call out, but that's when basically standard of care says, okay, this is your first prescription. Here is your metformin prescription. And then that leads to a whole host of diabetic type drugs that ultimately never reverses the underlying issue. Now, yes, there are some doctors that prescribe this that will mention diet and lifestyle, but really never give patients an understanding and a full approach to what changing their diet and lifestyle looks like. Because let's face it, these primary care doctors are owned by these insurance companies, which basically make them only use about 10 to 12 minutes per patient. And there is no way that you can really educate and work with patients that are motivated to change their whole lifestyle and not possibly need to be on drugs the rest of their life. So I'm not throwing shade to my colleagues that are still in Western medicine. Just know that this is a broken system that keeps getting worse. And it's voices like myself and colleagues and other like-minded people that are here to help give you information so that you can help take back your own health. So in the spectrum of type 2 diabetes, imagine this graph, right? And right here you have type 2 diabetes. So about 10 to 15 years before is when a patient is given the diagnosis of pre-diabetes, right? When their lab markers show certain numbers, right? But before that, 10 to 15 years before that, a patient is showing signs of insulin resistance, right? So this is a culmination of a whole bunch of stuff. Our bodies being fueled by the fuel that was never designed for us, right? We were designed to eat real food, not processed food. So it's just the same as if you were to take your car to a gas station and put diesel instead of regular fuel. It wouldn't function. It would be dysfunctional. And years and years and years of feeding our body processed foods, not really food, but fake frankenfoods, leads to dysfunction. Lies that we've been told, like we're supposed to feed our body every 2 to 3 hours to keep the metabolism high. That's just malarkey. It was made up by these big companies to make you believe that you need to buy all of their snack foods so that you can have healthy snacking throughout the day. And look where that got us. In 2023, we've never seen a rate of obesity and chronic illness so bad as it is now. So the fact is, if we can catch you earlier in that stage of insulin resistance that leads prediabetes to leads type 2 diabetes, the easier it is to reverse it and put it in remission. And notice I didn't say cure it, but we can definitely reverse it with a whole combination of many different things that you can do to reverse that underlying illness. And this is where semaglutide really can play a huge role. So let's just talk about some of the non-pharmaceutical things that you can do that I use with my patients on a regular basis, in addition to plus or minus a drug like semaglutide. So first things first, our bodies were meant to feast and fast. We are not meant to eat all throughout the day. So eating 3 meals a day, having about 4 to 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours in between, is a great place to start. Doesn't cost you any money. It basically means that you have to unlearn your snacking habits, because snacking is a habit, right? I promise you, your body, you will not die if you don't have a snack in your transitioning, going from many small meals throughout the day to eating 3 regular meals about spaced anywhere between 4 to 6 hours apart. Now, of course, that leads me to the intermittent fasting, whatever you want to call this. I don't even think that it needs a name, because I believe that this is the way humans have been eating for the longest time. Before we had electricity, before we had refrigeration, before we had easy access to food, we feasted and fasted. And so our body's energy systems were meant for just that. We have quick burning energy and we have slow burning energy, right? So it's the quick burning energy of sugar, glycogen, and the slow burning energy of fat, ketones, right? And our body has the ability to make both depending on what state that we're in. And the easier that we can go back and forth from those, the more metabolically healthy we are. But guess what? All of the things that modern society has brought to us has created this completely jacked up system where our hormones completely don't even know where to begin. And so we have hormones just like insulin, ghrelin, leptin, cortisol, thyroid, all of these hormones. And there's so many more that play an intricate role that are completely given misinformation on a regular basis. And it gets us to a place where our body's like, I don't know what the heck is going on, help. And I'm guessing that this is where a lot of you guys are. And so this is where a pharmaceutical like semaglutide really can be beneficial, because if you are on that spectrum of insulin resistance, pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, this drug can absolutely help when done in combination with all of the other things. So of course, eating 3 meals a day. Sometimes men do good with eating 2 meals a day, but typically my female patients, I like them to have 3 meals a day. Practicing intermittent fasting. So there's no magic window of 8-16 or 10-14 or 12-12. But the concepts behind intermittent fasting are applicable to really everyone, I believe. Then there are some supplements that I will talk about just briefly, but any one of my patients that I know that they're somewhere on that spectrum of metabolic unhealthiness, I will start them on a supplement called CM Support from Laura Med that has ingredients like berberine. And this was one of the ingredients that the video that I will link to talked about. I 100% start all my patients on this supplement that has really important ingredients like berberine that have been shown to help with your blood sugar metabolism and your insulin. Also being said, knowing that if you are somewhere on that curve, not all carbohydrates are your friend, but I'm not telling you that all carbohydrates are bad. Knowing that if you focus your meals around protein and fat, which is another thing this video talked about, it can completely change. And of course, when I'm talking meals, I'm talking about real whole foods that don't have barcodes, that if you read the ingredients, there are only a few ingredients and you know all of what the ingredients, those words mean, right? So having supplementation, knowing the kind of food that you're supposed to be eating, knowing that because you're on this curve, eating a whole thing, a cup or 2 of rice is probably not going to be your best friend compared to someone that is insulin sensitive. And knowing that these little things can be changed that cost you minimal to no money at all. Now, with my patients that I use semaglutide with, I definitely give them all of the tools, but then this is an adjuvant. And I tell them a few things. One, my goal is to get them to their ideal body weight. And I have some patients that are about 15 pounds overweight, and I have some patients that are 100 plus pounds overweight that are on this. My goal is the same for all of them, is to use all of the things, all of the functional medicine things to help them get to their ideal body weight. And that includes, on a lot of them, using semaglutide once a week injection. And then once they're at their ideal body weight, make sure that they can maintain it, doing all of the things. And then we slowly wean them off of it. And in many of functional medicine practices, they've been shown to be able to do that. So I just recently started using semaglutide in my practice less than a year ago. And so I don't have as many long-term studies as a lot of the other functional medicine doctors that I follow and respect that have been using this in their functional medicine practice for a long time. But I anticipate that my patients will follow suit because I taught them all of the other things in addition to the semaglutide to help them get to their ideal body weight. But ultimately, this is an adjuvant that truly is a game changer for so many patients. And let me just quickly tell you, I used it in a very small population of my patients. There were 5 patients that had all hit a plateau in their weight loss. I've been working them for a long time, so I knew that they weren't looking for a quick fix. So we added semaglutide on top of all of the other things that they were doing. It not only got them past their plateau, but lots of them, most of the 5 of them are at their ideal body weight. And now we're in the process of starting to wean them off. Once I saw how good this was as an adjuvant for my functional medicine patients, I started using it in other patients of mine. And I just want to put out the stigma that has possibly come along with this, that, oh, it's stealing from the patients that need it. Because originally, this class of drugs was created for diabetic patients. Now, so the brand name Ozempic is what semaglutide is. The semaglutide is the generic name for Ozempic. So Ozempic was formulated for diabetics. Then they created Wegovy, which is basically indicated for weight loss, but it's the same drug. It's just used in different dosing. Okay. So I will tell you that, yes, while I definitely think diabetic patients are benefiting from it, I do believe the metabolically unhealthy are benefiting from it just as much and need it just as much as our diabetic counterparts. Okay. That being said, we get it from a compounding pharmacy. I know that the brand names are highly sought out after, and they're behind on their manufacturing, but I know there's a ton of compounding pharmacies that are actually compounding it for their patients. And that's what we do. So in my patients that use it, they get their vial. I teach them how to use the injection. So this is the tiniest needle they make. It's a 31 gauge. It's the same thing that you use for Botox. You take this, you take an alcohol swab, you clean off the top, you put this in right here, you pull it back and you see that little bit of liquid. And that's literally all that you're putting in. So it's a tiny amount of fluid. Okay. Then, once you have it, of course, you're going to take that same alcohol pad, clean off a fatty area on your body, and take that little needle and just inject it. And it doesn't hurt at all. If you are scared of needles, I would say get your loved one to do it. But what we do is we teach all of our patients how to do it the first time around, and then they do it on their own at home. It's a once a week injection. The side effects that come along with it, the most common one is nausea, potentially leading to vomiting. I've only had a few patients that vomit. We start at the lowest dose to help decrease the likelihood of nausea and or vomiting. Well, typically you don't have nausea or vomiting if you don't have nausea, but you know what I mean. That being said, I always recommend having adequate hydration. So getting a good quality water. I use Mountain Valley. I put minerals in it from, what is it called? Trace minerals, just to make sure it's adequately hydrating the cells of my body. I recommend everyone staying adequately hydrated in the same manner. So good quality water and making sure that it's structured water with the right minerals, trace minerals in it. The protein, one thing that we don't want to happen is muscle wasting, because one of the side effects of this class of drugs are decreased appetite, or is decreased appetite. And so what I don't want for my patients to have is muscle wasting because they're not eating enough. So I always give them a protein goal of each meal. 3 meals a day, they're prioritizing making sure that they get their protein. And when patients follow the hydration and protein rule, typically their nausea is next to nothing, and almost none of them have vomited. Okay. That being said, there is a black box warning for pancreatitis. And let me just put this out there. So realistically, if I had a patient who had a history of pancreatitis, I would have this discussion with them and we would make it together if the risk are worth it. Because if you've ever had pancreatitis, you know how terrible that is. Typically people that have had pancreatitis are hospitalized. It's typically from alcohol, but we do know of other circumstances where a person can have pancreatitis and not be associated with alcohol. But regardless, pancreatitis, someone asked, how do you know if you've had pancreatitis? Trust me, you would have known if you had pancreatitis. But in studies, there have been shown that rat or mice have been shown a very small percentage to have pancreatitis. It's never been shown in adults, but it's very rare. And I'm sure eventually we'll probably see it in a couple of people with in the human form, if that makes any sense. Also, that being said, just want to let you know that ultimately my goal with all of my patients is to not have them have this as their forever drug. But they're in the Western medicine model where people are using it just for weight loss. The doctors are telling them you have to be on this forever because they're not teaching them all of the other things that come along with using this drug. So I hope this was helpful. I will be totally open with you, and I'm still learning a lot about this class of drugs and all of the ways. And one thing that I did want to talk about was we don't know the long-term side effects. This class of drugs, I believe, has been around for 7 or 8 years. So that's not near long enough to address the long-term effects. And there might be problems with uploading or upregulation of the receptors that this particular drug works on. And that was one of the things that this video talked about. We just don't know. So ultimately, what I do believe is that if you can get a patient to their ideal body weight in the healthiest manner, this shouldn't be a forever thing. And in theory, it makes sense to me why it wouldn't be a forever thing. But ultimately, when a person is at their ideal body weight, that's signs of health in so many different ways. And yes, there can be people that are at their ideal body weights that are not healthy on a cellular level. But I'm just talking about in general, when a person is carrying extra weight, they're not at their healthiest. Okay. And so my goal is to help my patients become optimized at their healthiest in the healthiest approach possible. But I hope that this video was beneficial to you. Just know that I am a huge fan of semaglutide. I will continue to use it in the patient population that is indicated for, with the goals to get them off of it long-term after they've reached their ideal body weight. So if this video was helpful, like it, subscribe to this channel, share it, tag it, and I will do my best to try and answer questions. And just also know that I am learning on this process, and I am an open book, making sure that you understand I do not know everything. I'm continually learning how the best way we can do to optimize our total body health and wellness on a daily basis. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye.